this is Surya Sahan. Welcome to the Insurtech Story Podcast, the platform to spread knowledge on insurance innovation, digital disruptions, and entrepreneurship. Our website, insurtechstory.com, and we are available on Spotify, Apple, Audible, and Amazon Music. Today, we will discuss on the topic navigating the future of benefits in a changing workforce. And for now, I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Sanchit Malik, who is the co-founder and CEO of PassCare. Prior to PassCare, Sanchit also co-founded Townscript, one of the well-known online platform to book your tickets for your favorite shows, conferences, and others. With that, Sanchit, would you mind talking a bit more about your background, what motivated you to start PassCare, and of course, what brings you in insurance?
Thank you, Surya, for inviting me at your podcast. Really happy to be here. So to give a bit background about myself, so I am an entrepreneur who's a tech entrepreneur. So I started this company called Townscript before starting Passcare. It's a platform for event organizers to set up their event tickets within minutes and start selling tickets online. And my company was bought over by Book My Show in 2018. So I ran it for almost 5 years, and then stayed there for almost 8 years. And it was a wonderful experience for me personally as an entrepreneur. However, one regret which I was carrying from my previous company was that event ticketing at that time in India was not a very large market. So next time I thought, like, whatever I do in my life, the market size has to be pretty large, right? So with that mindset, I started exploring some ideas, primarily in the financial services space, because I feel that India is a pretty large market. It's a very large growing market in 2020s, and the market size of financial services itself is growing so fast that it could become pretty large. A good opportunity for a technology-driven solution to solve that problem. Uh, this was in 2019. Actually, I had some incident with where I used my insurance for the first time in my life, and I realized the value of the product. Where actually I didn't have to pay anything because all of the coverage for my car insurance was actually covered by the uh, uh, basically the insurance premium that I had paid for, and uh, because of that, so I started exploring this insurance as a space, and gradually, from the B2B perspective, and gradually the idea evolved, and I started focusing a lot on the employee insurance because it requires a lot of administration hassle. There are a lot of administration hassle when it comes to employee insurance, and it is a high frequency, low severity claim product, so requires a lot of hand holding, and it has been very service driven. So I realized that I think this can be a great opportunity and great place to involve technology to solve the post sale service for anyone who wants to use our product. And we entered into this space, and today we are a full stack benefit suite which helps employers in setting up their benefits, not limited to insurance, which is IPD cover in India, to actually like a full stack cover covering primary preventive healthcare, and at the same time lifestyle benefits, and also not only that, like we also do financial benefits as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, it's a very inspiring story. And of course, your previous Townscript which venture which you have started, I myself was a big user of it. And you have really nailed the ticketing ecosystem at a very early stage. And I think you have led the path and people followed. And of course, Book My Show coming in and they have got a ready platform to use. So that's a big kudos to you and your team. Fantastic job there. And of course, India is really evolving, and when it comes to fintech and emerging technology, this is a country that is showing the world how to move in. And Insurtech being in that space, realizing the potential and being a user and understanding what it takes really to make things work in insurance. And that's another big step to really, craft the path for Indian consumers. So again, a big kudos to you in that space, Sanchit. So, employee benefits, as we know, it's one of the biggest you know, what do you say, a space, a segment within the insurance sector that needs to be really transformed. Of course, if you look at the history, how people, how companies really have gone forward to use such opportunities for their employees, but how technology can really transform this space for a better accessibility and better care management comes to employee, something that we really need to work on much more than how we used to in previous years. So with that, Sanchit, my first question to you is, how have employee insurance and benefits packages evolved in this recent years, and particularly, with the growing focus on employee well-being and mental health, which is something, of course, that we need to understand how that can be better packaged with a health insurance product.
Yeah, if we see the history of employees benefits being offered, especially specifically from the context of our country, which is India, is that in the last 25 years, right? So when multinational companies started being in India, right, especially in the software segment, right, we saw uh, a surge of focus from not only your the payroll cost, which is payroll investment, which is on the salaries of the employees, like giving good salaries, but gradually the investment on the benefits has been increasing, right? So the international companies, they entered into our country. They brought in the concept of insurance for employees. It's only a 24 years old concept, where the employers started offering uh, insurance to their employees at scale, at group, as group policies, right? So uh, however, how it is evolving now as the country is maturing as an economy is that the employer used to offer only IPD before, which is the in hospitalization cover. But gradually, what we are seeing is that now employers are just not looking at the cover to provide in case the employee falls sick, but also they are thinking about, can I cover the employee if the employee has like common cold, like a basic flu, or the employee wants to basically get an annual health checkup done, right? Or the employee they want the employee to stay fit as well, so they are giving them benefits going beyond on insurance, where they're saying that, hey, these are the gyms nearby to your office, or these are the gyms nearby in your city. You go to these kind of gyms to stay fit, and they're going even beyond and giving benefits where the employees can save taxes. And what I've seen personally is that now the employers are thinking that, hey, if an employee is joining my company today, everything should be taken care of when it comes to their health insurance, their life insurance, their primary care, preventive care, their tax savings, and their investments. And not only that, people are thinking beyond and adding components like retirement plans, which also help the employee be very well off when the employee retires. So there has been like, we already know about employee provident fund. Now we are also seeing that corporates are getting into national pension scheme as well, which is helping employees plan for retirement as well. So as a matter of the fact, almost 8 to 10% of your CTC today is being spent on your employee benefits as an investment, and that is helping employers stand out. And the market itself has become pretty competitive from the employer perspective, because they want to attract good talent. And that is actually how we are seeing this change in the landscape, which is actually great for the whole ecosystem, because employee just focuses on the productivity, and rest is being taken care of by the employer as well. And that is also leading to the adoption of or growth of insurance as a product in India, right? So the product as we are seeing, the growth rate of the market itself is more than 15% for last 6 years, and we are expected that the market will keep on doubling every 4 years, especially the health and life insurance market. So pretty exciting times for somebody like us who are trying to facilitate this for the country at scale.
Absolutely. We have seen this evolving, from past decade, right? And now with the new sort of a work environment that where we see the rise of hybrid and remote work coming in, right? How are employers adopting their insurance offerings to meet these kind of needs of a geographically dispersed workforce? Are there any new types of benefits emerging to address this shift? Any observation? How are you seeing this shaping?
Yeah, so remote and hybrid is also a pretty new concept which has come up post COVID, and employers realize that it might actually lead to better productivity, and especially in tech driven companies we are seeing employers offering remote. It's actually good for both the employer and the employee, because as an employer you're able to sort of save overhead cost regarding to your office space, and beyond that, um, for employee it is actually good because they are able to manage their work life balance, and beyond that, they are able to work from home and get more flexibility to stay back with their families. However, as you rightly asked, like on the benefit side, the what observations that we are seeing here is that from the employer's perspective, there are some challenges, but at the same time, there are some solutions also come up. So I'll talk about the challenges first. Like, so let's say my workforce is remote, right? So now the question comes in: if somebody's at tier 3 city, can that person be covered in an IPD plan, right? um, are we having sufficient network hospitals in for insurance in tier 2 tier 3 cities? Secondly, do we have like a larger employer has a larger challenge to provide these benefits like gym membership, because many of the times one gym network might not have access to all so the network accessibility of all the services becomes a challenge for to provide to the employees. So for that, I think one thing which has worked very well and what we are seeing in terms of transitioning is flexible benefits. So flexible benefits is also a pretty interesting concept, which is coming up, and which we at Pascale are pioneering in India, is let the employee choose what they want, right? From the budget that you have as an employer. In terms of the budget, right, you can set up the budget very transparently. You can create and curate the bouquet of benefits, uh, which could support to the remote workforce. So as an example, I want like access to, like, hey, Audible subscription, or I want access to a mental wellness program, and somebody else wants an access to gym membership, or somebody else wants to have an access of an annual health check. So considering you provide flexibility, or in insurance, if I want to have in say a coverage for me and my family, and not my parents, because my parents are already covered somewhere, so I can choose that plan and I get a wallet from my employer, and I can actually take a particular coverage. So the flexibility point makes easier for the employee to have the benefits which are easily accessible in my geography, right? Plus, which are actually more relevant to me as well. So that's what we have sort of seen, a shift that is happening, and it is actually pretty exciting considering I feel that's going to be the future of enabling benefits at scale, especially for the remote employers and remote employees. So yeah, that's my 2 cent on how people are solving this problem, Surya.
So this is interesting, and of course we are going to come up with more and more ways of doing things, more and more challenges, and that's how we will evolve on what product innovation can be brought in to address these challenges. And it's interesting time for insurance for sure, coupled with new demographic needs and new shifts in the way we operate, and of course coupled with the technological emergence that we are witnessing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Just to add here,
yeah.
so also on insurance, right? So there has been a pretty interesting new change that has come up in, especially in health insurance, where um, you can get the hospital added in cashless
Hmm.
within like 8 hours, or by informing the insurance company or the TPA. So this actually is going to help a lot for remote workforce as well, because you can just give a notification to the insurer or the TPA that I'm going for a planned surgery for my parents for cataract. So can you please get this hospital added in cashless list? So I think the experience in cashless is much better than reimbursement. So
Okay.
that's where the remote workforce face challenge. So these kind of new initiatives from, especially from the insurance company plus IITI, is very welcoming and very
Absolutely.
exciting as we are going ahead
Yeah.
in this decade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting move, because in the past, what we have seen is any sort of an insurance company would have an empaneled kind of a list of healthcare providers, and if you're only
Yes.
going to those providers, you're eligible to get a cashless. But having them added as and when you see, and especially people who are moving to tier two cities as perhaps of their hometown or anything of that sort, or most of the healthcare providers are perhaps not listed in the empaneled list, right? So this is a very interesting move, and this is something I'm sure for the audiences that they would be much happy to educate themselves with this particular interesting tip that you have given. Uh,
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Sanchit. My last question to you is: in light of the economic pressure that we are seeing, and of course, on the major challenge is the rising healthcare cost, right? How are companies balancing cost management and offering competitive and comprehensive employee insurance?
Yeah, very very nice question, Surya, because this is something which we are observing on a daily basis as a service provider or somebody who is in uh, insurance, um, is that the healthcare inflation in India is 15% year on year, right? So that itself is so large, right? So and we don't have any much of regulation on the healthcare cost. There's no regulation on healthcare cost at this time, uh, and which I don't know, but it is scary considering the fact that if my inflation is 15% year on year, uh, that means my healthcare costs are going to double. Like, for example, if I was getting my cataract surgery done for 50,000 rupees, now within, if I go for the same surgery after 4 years or 3 years, my cataract surgery will be actually double of that, which is 1 lakh rupees. So it's a pretty, I feel pretty scared, especially from the perspective of the people who are not insured, either from their employer or from by themselves. So because the kind of inflation that we are seeing might actually rip off all your savings, because the healthcare costs are pretty high. However, just to specifically answer your question, we are seeing that companies' premiums going like double so fast. Like one of the customers which we onboarded, they were paying say 50 lakhs worth of premium, and now they are going to pay say 1 crore worth of premium after just 3 years. Is a lot, because the company, it becomes a big burden on the cost. So how we are advising and what we are observing in this is that being a little innovative. Um, Earlier, we saw that the covers did not have copay at all, right? So, and sometimes we observed that there are some of the leakages that could possibly happen because the employee is not aware of the, like for example, employee is not aware that they might end up actually overusing the cover sometimes. So for example, if you don't have a room rent capping in the insurance policy, and you have a 5 lakh or 10 lakh worth of a cover, I might end up going in a hospital in a presidential suite, and unnecessarily my claim amount could be 5 lakh, right? So that could have been stopped by just being in a single AC room. So now what we are observing is that uh, we as an advisor to the employer, we are advising them to sort of design a plan in such a way that you don't have any unnecessary leakage in the policy, and the policy is designed in such a way that you don't have a pretty high claim ratio. But there is a pressure, I can see that people are adding copays, people are restricting the room rent cappings, people are restricting disease wise sublimit, and I think the major cause of that is the healthcare inflation. So I think I'll also have to go deeper in it, like why it is happening. But the country's inflation, if the government is saying like it's 6 to 7% on an average, but the healthcare inflation is 15%, it's pretty scary because it can, we might have some pretty high healthcare costs in next 5-10 years, like US, where we'll have to actually match up with having a very high insurance coverages in the longer run. Yeah.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, this is a very, you know, and very not just interesting, I would say, is a very important matter that it should be addressed by the insurance companies and the employers together. And as you mentioned, it's it's time that we get into more in-depth analysis of how best to tackle this, because of course it should be a two-way kind of a work, that where the policy holders do not really go for such sort of a benefits like a presidential suite when it can be done in a single AC room, right? So in that case, substantial costs also reduces, and of course the burden on the employers, as well as employers are also able to be in a position to help more and more employees in any sort of an perceived risk.
Yep. 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 Yeah.
So, Sanchit, I think it's a fantastic discussion and a lot of highlights here and takeaways. And I'm sure our listeners are going to be more and more educated on this particular important part of the health insurance, especially in the country like India, and when we are seeing the inflation rate going up and up on a year-on-year basis. So, a fantastic discussion, and thank you for sharing your thoughts today, and a true delight to have you as our guest.
Thank you, Surya, for hosting me. Really, really, really nice to answer your questions, and it was lovely to be on the podcast. Please do share with me. I'll definitely share in my network as well once it goes live. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's all our pleasure to have you, Sanjay. And lastly, to wrap this up, you are listening to the Insurtech Story podcast, and see you at our next episode. Till then, take care and stay safe. Goodbye for now.